The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Friday, everybody. All right, so I took yesterday off. I had to relax a little bit. And then I promised not to talk more politics. And guess what? We kind of have to talk politics, at least for a little bit. And that is because of the State of the Union address from President Biden last night on Thursday. So let me just give some thoughts on this because honestly, I would be remiss as my first boss ever, Adam Ross at Procter & Gamble. I know Adam's probably not listening, but maybe I'll have to tell him I gave him a shout out. He would always say to me, Ray, I would be remiss if I did not point out how you could have handled that appointment better. And so the word remiss has literally stuck with me since that day. So I appreciate Adam for, I guess, introducing me to that word. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the State of the Union a little bit. So, okay, here's my thoughts. I mean, honestly, I thought Biden did great, actually. I really did. And, you know, for those of you that are not Biden fans, I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, calling a spade, I thought he did exceptionally well. I really think that he did himself a major service with the American people and probably convinced a lot of voters that are on the fence with him about his health, maybe about his cognitive, I guess, awareness. Now, I will say this. I mean, he processes things slow. He definitely does. And, you know, there's like two Bidens as I see it. One is the dude that was walking down the aisle before he started. Again, he just moves slow. His head motions are slow. You know what I mean? Like if somebody calls his name, he doesn't whip his neck around like, you know, most people in their younger years. And by the way, this is not being critical. This is really just a factor of age more than anything. But, you know, you could tell when he was walking down the aisle and everybody was stopping him, which I think they should have sped that process up, by the way. That was just like 15 minutes of wasted time for a bunch of like, you know, knuckleheads who wanted to get on camera. But during that walk and during that process, he moves slow. He just does. And that's when I think his age really shows. Now, when he got on the microphone and, you know, he reads off of the teleprompter, I mean, that's where he excels. That's truly where he excels. And I thought he did last night. I mean, you know, again, I'm not judging. Actually, I am judging the content of what he said as well. But I thought he delivered it well. I really did. Like I could not, you know, I really couldn't say much bad things about his performance. You know what I mean? You know, the only thing that, and this was good and bad. So I don't know if you guys watched or if you saw the one part. So at the beginning, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the firebrand of a congresswoman, MJT, they call her. You know, she had on like a MAGA hat. She had on like a t-shirt. She definitely was like the in-your-face Republican last night. And so she handed President Biden a button for Laken Riley. Laken Riley, if you don't know, was that poor I think a UGA, University of Georgia student. Hold on, let me make sure of that. Yeah, University of Georgia nursing student who was out for like a morning jog, and then she was attacked and then killed by, here's the first part of the controversy. It's an undocumented person. And so the one thing Biden said was he called that killer an illegal alien. I'm not that to me, the person that did that to Laken Riley, I don't care what you call that person, illegal, undocumented, scumbag, they deserve all of them. So I really don't care what he called them. He said illegal, and then a lot of people went crazy with that term. I mean, it's not the nicest term in the world. I totally get that. But anyway, let's move over that. But so she handed him that button, and then during his speech, something came up, and he basically grabbed the button and said, hey, we can't have situations like this happen. Now, here's where the age kind of came in. Well, I don't even know if this is the age or what, but he basically referred to her as Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is actually the head football coach. He's a man of USC. So again, I mean, that's a little whatever, but Lincoln, he should have gotten the name right. He really should have gotten the name right. To me, it maybe shows a lack of prior attention to that name because, again, if you've really been following that story, Republicans are using that as a huge, I guess, momentum grabber in regards to the border issues. And then Democrats have been really I don't want to say downplaying it, but obviously not turning it into like a fire starter of a situation. So he probably should have gotten the name right because he should have been, I guess, well-versed enough with Lincoln Riley's name to have said it enough times in their internal meetings and all that he just should not have made that mistake, but he did. So, I thought that was a little bit of a flaw. But besides that, I mean, the dude did well. And again, this is rising up to like 30,000 feet and, being impartial and calling a spade a spade. He absolutely did well. He did well on the speech. It was interesting to see the pregame with like the various folks that were talking to one another. I will tell you the one thing that stood out to me, and I've talked about this guy before, and I'll just focus on him for a second, and that's Lindsey Graham, the Republican senator. I think this guy is absolutely the epitome of everything that's wrong in politics and in the United States government. He is duplicitous. Just the other day, he's on stage with Trump. And by the way, I kind of like, I don't know, I don't like how Trump kind of, I don't want to say kisses his butt, but I just think that guy is the epitome of everything that's wrong. And then last night, during the pregame, you're watching him walk around. They had the camera on him actually, and he's palling around with all the Democrats that he viscerally attacks in social media and all the time. And I just thought that was lame. I think it's lame when I really feel like those are people's true colors. Those are people's true colors. And I haven't done the Uniparty episode yet, but I'm going to. But I think he is the poster child for that stuff. And quite frankly, he's the poster child for everything that's wrong in politics. Really, everything that's wrong in politics. And then during the speech last night, at one point, Biden even referenced them. He said something about Lindsey. I don't remember what it was, and I'm not going to bore you with trying to find the clip. But he mentioned his name. And like, I don't know, that stuff to me seems lame. If you really hate each other or don't like each other, I don't think you make jokes on a national stage with each other. So anyway, there's that. So overall on Biden's performance in the State of the Union, honestly, I think he did well. I really do. Now let's move on to the Republican rebuttal. All right, so this was delivered by a young senator named Katie Britt. Honestly, I had never even heard of her before, but I guess she is a rising star in the Republican Party, as all the outlets said, and she is a young senator from Alabama. What is that from? Forrest Gump, maybe? Greenbow, Alabama. Yeah, I think that was either Bubba or Forrest that said that. Anyway, she's a young senator from Alabama, and she delivered the rebuttal, which is standard in these things. They pick a Republican to basically, give their retort, and she did it from her kitchen table at her home, and man, it was awful. I thought it was absolutely awful. She, to me, sounded terrible. She was so cringy. Like, she almost sounded like a 1-900 worker number combined with you've got somebody trapped in your basement and you don't want to be too loud, combined with like telling your kid a bedtime story. I don't know, man. She was off. She was off. It was a terrible delivery. It did not feel genuine, and it just was awful, completely awful. I honestly can't even really remember the content of what she talked about because the delivery was so bad. But that kind of fits with what I'm seeing from this Republican Party. And man, they are just a shit show, like just a complete mess. And I'm sorry for all of my Republican listeners and fans. I mean, that's just the truth. I'm not even talking about Trump right now. I'm talking like everything besides Trump. Like, why would they pick her? There's no reason to pick her. There are much more articulate and well-versed people that I think Americans know and probably respect. And, they could have picked Rand Paul. They could have picked Jim Jordan. They could have picked Thomas Massey. I don't know. She was terrible to me, absolutely terrible. And then I waited to read the reviews, and I think she got criticized by her own party and even Speaker Big Johnson. All right. So anyway, she was terrible. Let's move on. Oh, I will say, oh my goodness. If anybody's watched the Netflix show Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland, I would love to talk to you about it because, man, I'm on season 2 right now, and season 2 was filmed in, I believe, 2017 or 2018. So this is all pre-COVID, and it is eerie. It is eerie, the things that are being shown on this show. They're all the things that have happened in really starting in 2020 and 2021. And I'll give you a couple examples. There was an episode in season 2 where there was a trucker like strike / a trucker stoppage. Now, this was on the U.S.-Mexico border in the show, but it was exactly what ended up taking place in Canada and the United States with the truckers strike or the truckers stoppage or whatever. That was one. In season 1, like I talked about, I think I mentioned this previously, there was a situation where the president was going up against a governor. This happened to be the governor of Michigan, but it was exactly kind of what is taking place between Biden and then Governor Abbott in Texas. It was like a border control issue. Now, this one was kind of the reverse. It was the Michigan border with Canada, whereas in real life, it's the Texas border with Mexico. Actually, that's pretty funny. So those two scenarios, which both played out and ended up happening in real life, they kind of flip-flopped the country and the scenario. That's funny. All right, I just looked it up. So season 2 debuted in September 2017. Now again, remember, season 1 debuted in 2016 after Trump took office. Season 2, September 2017. And by the way, season 2 of Designated Survivor, and sorry to spoil it, but it's worth watching if you're looking for a good show. It's really good, actually. That one started off with like a virus pandemic. So like a virus pandemic, very similar to what happened in COVID in 2020. They started the season off with that, season 2. And again, that debuted September 2017. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at there for now, but man, as I'm going through this, I think there's 3 total seasons. I'll probably watch all of it and then do an overall similarity episode. That could make sense. By the way, the other show, and I can't even believe I'm admitting this, but you know what? Maybe we'll start to bring some TV elements into the game. But I don't know if anybody's watched Love is Blind, but I watched my first season of Love is Blind, and that thing's pretty hilarious. So they just had the final wedding episode, and then there's a reunion episode. I'm going to watch that reunion and then talk a little bit about Love is Blind. That's pretty funny. Anyway, let me know what shows you guys are watching, what you're interested in. Hit me up, DM me, text me, send an email, send a smoke signal, do whatever you need. All right, so anyway, that's all that. By the way, there was a designated survivor last night, speaking of that, and that concept, again, if you don't know what that is, so every time there is a State of the Union or when the entire United States, I guess, government and all the branches are together, there is one person that doesn't get to go to that, and that person is like hidden in some bunker, in case, and I hope this never happens in real life, but in case like the ultimate tragedy happens, and this is what the premise of Designated Survivor, the show is, and that is that the Capitol building is blown up and basically you lose your entire, 3 branches of government and all of those people. Anyway, last night's Designated Survivor was Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. Miguel Cardona was a designated survivor chosen to sit out Thursday night's State of the Union, a White House official confirmed after the State of the Union. So I guess they don't tell anybody who it is until after. Anyway, interesting show. Definitely interesting show. Interesting overall situation. Anyway, overall, in summary, I don't think we're in a good place in this country. I really don't. I think the division and the divisiveness, even after reading all the reviews and everything that, people posted, it was what I expected. Every outlet and person on the right-hand side, meaning the Republicans, were all ridiculously critical. Everyone on the left, meaning the Democrats, were, praising Biden as if it was, the greatest speech since FDR delivered his speech or something like that. And, very few people are calling a spade. And, hopefully that's what I'm doing, and I'll continue to do that. And, give praise when it's deserved and give criticism when it's deserved. Last thing really quick I wanted to talk about today, just another update on the Gaza situation. So now it looks like the United States has basically committed to building a pier, and that pier is going to be obviously from the ocean running to land so they can deliver goods to the people, the Palestinian civilians, from a humanitarian aid situation in Gaza. I'm not going to talk about this too much today, but it's just weird. Like, you've got roads, you've got entry points already there. Why are we building a pier from the ocean into Gaza? I could understand if, again, Egypt or Jordan or a conflicting country was doing that, but when the United States and Israel are such close allies, this one doesn't make much sense, and so it requires a more thorough analysis to the stuff we've talked about many episodes ago in terms of, these really, I'll just call them theories for now, about natural gas being discovered off the coast of Gaza, oil reserves being discovered in that area, the potential to build a new canal called the Ben Gurion Canal to compete with the Suez Canal. So anyway, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to piece this together. So the question is, are they creating sort of a distraction in the ocean with this humanitarian aid pier in order to cover the oil, natural gas, and canal aspirations? I have no idea, but I'm sure it'll come out a little bit more. And, like I said, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to kind of be like, wait a minute, why are we going through all that trouble when all you have to do is like unlock the gate and then trucks can just come through the gate like they've been doing for 75 years now. And that does pose the final question of why is there even a gate? But we'll leave that to another time. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. If you have not checked out some of the video clips that I've been posting, those are available on Instagram, YouTube. I need to put them better. I need to put them on the Facebook page better. But on the Deep Shallow Dive social media platforms, they should all be there. And that's about it. Have a wonderful weekend. Call a spade. And I promise next week we'll get back into that health, some more health episodes and some different things. All right, everybody. Talk to you later.
The ending was terrific.
This episode is being brought to you by the upcoming book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You. That's right, Bro wrote a book, and it's coming soon. Stay tuned.